Hello there. It is Friday, so I wanted to jump on and put some yay back into your mind and body. So I started a new corporate contract, and this is my second week in, and I'm also using this time to also observe and also learn a little bit more about my own behaviors and my own well-being, and how I'm also managing my well-being while working, managing my mind-body business, as well as having two kids. So life is pretty full on, and for most of us, life is very busy. So I wanted to share with you uh, and talk to you about well-being at work and working and really focusing on your own well-being while being a busy professional. And I've worked in corporates and governments for the last 20 years, and I've really, been challenged a lot of the time over that time. And I feel like sometimes I've really pushed myself to my limits, which I know some of you are probably nodding as well, but pushed myself to my limit. I've experienced burnout a few times over those years. The first time I experienced burnout, I was in my early 20s, and I was just fried. I just was burnt out and from overwork, and ended up in hospital. And, mental health, burnout doesn't discriminate. So you've really got to start to get yourself some good well-being and mind-body habits from early in your career as well, and really set some strong boundaries. So for me, I've always felt like I've been fighting for my well-being, especially when I've been working in corporates. And, and things have definitely gotten better, like definitely gotten better over time. And now I think I've also understand how I work best as well. Like, I know that I give a lot of my energy to my work. I know that I work very fast. I know the intensity that I work at is a lot, so I just give out a lot very quickly. And that also means I need to refill my cup as well. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to burn out. And that's my observation about myself and how I work. But I wanted to jump on because I think it's a perfect time after kind of starting a new role. I did have a couple of months off where I just focused on my mind body business, which was fantastic. And I'm still doing my coaching, which is great. And I'll get to some of that stuff later. But I wanted to come on and go, how has this kind of first 2 weeks been for me? What impact have I already seen on my mind and body wellness? And there has been a few. And also where, I kind of interject with my well-being kind of activities throughout the week. So, and some of these might look a little bit unusual, but I put it all under that mind body wellness because it's what I need to help boost up my energy as well. So calm and balance is a superpower, and it's definitely what we strive to do, and strive to also look after our well-being. So a lot of the time when we're just pushed and pulled so much, and we sometimes really feel out of control because we've got to meet deliverables, we've got to keep stakeholders happy, all of that good stuff that you deal with when you're working for others. But I think one of the biggest things I've learnt and really want to take into this video is around setting boundaries is just so important for your well-being. It is probably one of the biggest acts of self-care that you can do to really set some good boundaries to make sure that work is just not kind of crawling into your kind of personal life too much as well. So I think the biggest thing for me is being aware, staying aware of your well-being, knowing where your triggers are, knowing where you start to see yourself get energy drained, or when you start to feel that you're not at your optimal health. And, and when you're at your optimal health, you're able to deliver a lot more, and you're also able to look after yourself. So that strive for balance is something that I know I'm really strive to do in all of my work as well. And while I'm quite strong with some of my boundaries, and also as I've learnt to kind of really start to not only have the boundaries there, and it's great that you've got boundaries. This is just a side note. Great that you've got boundaries. You need to communicate those boundaries. So you really need to be able to tell people what those boundaries are, because even this first week, I can start to feel that I'm pushing maybe some of those boundaries that I had. So it's about being very clear on what you can and can't do. And I'm finding now the conversation around mental health is really changing. We're able to be a lot more open with what our needs are. If you need to work from home more, if you need to work more flexibly, this is where the conversation's going. And also being able to finish work at a reasonable time so you can have some downtime. So all of this stuff is things that we as professionals have to deal with all the time. And I'm not just talking to professionals here. I'm talking to, obviously professionals, entrepreneurs, creators. We all are here, earning a living. And, sometimes whether you're working for yourself and you're delivering to your customers, you're working for someone else and you've got to deliver to your manager and to your executives. And also to creators as well, where there's a lot of work where you do it in isolation, and that can be really hard too. And a lot of the time you can just keep working because everything's available for you to work on all the time. You just open your laptop and it's there. So how you start to bring some more awareness into how you're working. So that's kind of the reason for today and the reason for kind of pulling this session together. I do want to give a few more check-ins as I am working and doing kind of more corporate and contracting work to help you see that I get some of these impacts as well, right? And I'm a mindfulness coach, yoga and meditation teacher, and I get pulled and I get sucked into some of just that busyness and the hecticness and that energy that you do get from being in a corporate. And how do you kind of hold your space while obviously being able to serve everyone else and meet all the demands that you have to meet on a daily basis. So I thought a good place to start is just what are some of the impacts, the well-being impacts that I have observed over the last week or so since I've started working. So I think you've got to start to know some of your triggers, which is what I mentioned before, and looking after your mind and body health is really important. Otherwise, we are going to overwork, we're going to get overwhelmed, we're going to get stressed, we're going to get anxious, we're going to get burnt out. So we're going to go down that sliding scale. So not only are there those mental impacts, and I've already started to feel some of these, and I'll talk through some of these, but there's also the physical aspect of this too. So if there's only so much physically we can do, where we are human, there's only so much we can do before our body says no, and then we get sick, right? So this is why I think from your end and watching this, reflect on your own experience as a professional as well, and where are some of these impacts and to your well-being. And for me, when I start to look at some of these things that I've looked at, and I've got so many notes, I wrote so many notes for this video as well, but these are some of the things. So you might nod when you go through some of these mind body impacts, as I'm calling them, as you go through, but I'll talk you through some of these. And then I also want to talk you through, so what do I actually do to help manage my well-being and continue to invest in my own self-care while delivering to others as well. So let's start with what are some of these impacts that I've observed, and some of these I thought were quite interesting. And even just being able to sometimes step out of that participant mode into the observer mode helps to manage stress, because at the end of the day, we've got to keep this into perspective. I know we need to work, I'm not going to downplay that. We most of us need to work, but at the same time, you need to keep it into perspective as well. And sometimes we get so stressed and so drained by things that will not matter in 6 or 12 months' time anyway. So I'm trying to keep perspective as I'm going through this as well. I've also got the luxury of having my personal calm coach, who is my husband. So I am very lucky that I did marry my calm coach. So I do have someone that I can talk to as well throughout the week. When I find that I'm just getting too busy and too overwhelmed, and, to kind of draw me and bring me back into balance as well, because you sometimes need that voice of reason. So what are some of these impacts that I've had? So firstly, and it has been starting a new job, right? So this is completely understandable to have this, but it's brain drain, right? Complete brain drain, mental overload, right? So just getting that constant information, and we live in an era where we are just constantly receiving information. And so for me, that is a huge observation of just how much mentally we take on board. And I know for any parents watching this too, like professionally and then being a parent on top of this is really, really, really hard from a mental load perspective, because it sometimes just feels never ending. So brain is full, right? So that's one of my biggest observations this week. As a professional, brain is full, and then the impact I found of that is that it's just the mental fog. I'm like, there is nothing else that I could fit into my mind this week. It was just full, and it just started to get very, very foggy. And then from those moments when you're very foggy in your brain, I'm off balance. I know personally I'm off balance. I start to overthink things. That monkey mind just goes to town. So this is where I start to see this knock-on effect. So I'm asking you to have a look at your own patterns as well, and look at kind of, where do you get that brain drain from? How can you also balance that out to, kind of, what do you need to do then to declutter and to get some mental space? And I'll go through some of the stuff I do around that. But that was one of my big observations this week, was around just that brain drain and the exhaustion that you get with that brain drain as well. So that's one aspect that I found, and one impact. The second, so that's kind of the mental exhaustion. The second was the physical exhaustion, right? So I work hybrid and I do 4 days a week, but I am traveling, and the commute is about an hour and a half for me. So it's a very decent commute, and it is on light rail, trains, buses, you name it. It's kind of, I'm experiencing it all. So there's quite a lot in my commute, and it's a physical drain, right? You're up earlier, you got to get out, you don't get home till later. It is just physically draining as well. So just that traveling as well, I find that's physically draining. So I've kind of feel like you've had the mental and the physical drain, and it's exhausting, right? So from that and the big impact of that I found is the sleep and the impact to sleep, right? So while you're exhausted, your brain is overactive, you're overthinking, and you're just letting the day replay over and over and over in your head. And I know that's what I do, and I think that's, for me, one of the impacts of having a heavy mental load, and also wanting to be of service and wanting to solve all the problems of the world where I'm working. And I just can't do that. So this is where it comes back to keeping things into perspective as well. But the sleep impact was something that I really observed and was quite worried about too, because I'm a very good sleeper, and I've really focused on clearing my mind in the evening to be able to sleep well. And so the impact that this has had on my sleep is just very interesting, and I'm very curious about it in myself, because that monkey mind keeps going in. So that was just one, but it's also, now I'm aware of this as well. I need to start to manage this. So have a look at your own patterns as well, and your own well-being, and where you start to get impacted by your work or your lifestyle as well. So physically, I also noticed that I've been working at a desk, kind of most of the time over the last 4 days. And, there's also rushing to get lunch, not many breaks throughout the day, not actually many times to kind of go even refill your water bottle, that type of, all of that stuff we all go through. Then that's just part of a lot of the time corporate life and what we do. But I have noticed just the sore neck, back, shoulders, tightness, really, really, really tight. So that is one of the other big physical observations that I have noticed from kind of being so desk bound, and also just on calls a lot or doing a lot of very heavy content kind of work. So, these are all kind of the impacts that we deal with all the time, right? And you might be aware of these. You might be going, yep, I know it. You might just be aware of it and go, yep, that's all. Nothing I can do because it's just what my work demands of me. Or you might be watching this going, oh my gosh, I've never thought about these and how it's actually impacting my well-being. So these are just some of the things that impact me, and just some of the stuff I know I need to manage so that I can bring myself into balance, and that I can need to recharge myself on as well, so that when I go back to work, then I'm able to be fresh, to be balanced, to be productive, and to be able to serve and deliver as best that I can. So they're kind of the impacts that I've gone through and what I've observed. And there's probably going to be many more over the next couple of weeks, but these are kind of just some of the things. And, it's interesting when you work for yourself. I feel you're obviously we're a lot more control of your work and what you're delivering when. But obviously you're delivering to your customers and to your clients as well. But I do find there's a lot more freedom for you to be able to work the way that you work best as well. So that is kind of one of my observations. I think sometimes corporates are getting there. Some of them are there. They let people work how they work best. Other times there's more restrictions as well around you got to be in the office a certain amount of days, or you got to work between certain hours, etc. So I do find, as an entrepreneur, looking at the different impacts you get, and it's all draining. Like, I'm not going to underplay that. It's all draining. It's all stressful. But we've got to look after ourselves in the process, right? And like I said, it's just a job. It's at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to also drill into myself. This is a job, and as much as I want to bring my purpose into it, there's so much that I can do at the moment, especially when you're working for other people as well. And sometimes I've always fallen into the trap that I feel like I've got to solve all the company's issues. And I'm like, some of these companies have had issues for the last 50 years. I can't come in and solve everything. And I'm not the only person that works in the company. Some of these have got thousands of employees, so again, keep it into perspective, and also focus on your self-care, focus on your boundaries. So with that, I want to get into, what do I actually do to look after my well-being during the week? And, as a professional, when I'm working, what are some of the things I do to really focus on my well-being? So I did just mention one before, my Calm coach, who is always great to have a chat to. And I think phoning a friend and debriefing, or just having a voice of reason there sometimes. And this is one of the reasons why I do my coaching, as well as to help create calm and stillness and balance for other people as well, and bring that mindful energy into them and bring it out of them, so that you can achieve this state of balance that we're all striving to achieve. So I do have my Calm coach, and so that is one of the best things that I have really used this week, to be able to debrief, to just talk it out, and just get some of the stuff almost that's been sitting in that mental space just out. And if you don't have a Calm coach, your own kind of Calm coach, that's okay. Journal is another way of doing it. Journaling in the evenings is such a fantastic way to be able to move a lot of that stuff out of your head and onto paper. So that's definitely stuff I'm going to get back into. And also get yourself a coach if you need to, right? So over this week as well, I've reconnected with my healer. It's just coincidence. Well, there's no coincidences. It's, everything is working out when you receive what you need at the time. But my healer is doing a community sessions one night a week. And so I've joined her kind of weekly healing sessions. And so I kind of got my own coach that I use. I've got my healer. Who do you have? Professionals, therapists, psychologists are amazing to use to help talk a lot of this stuff out. Counselors, healers, other coaches. There's loads of other different types of business coaches, mindfulness coaches, yoga coaches, mindset, personal development, all these different types of support around. So I think for me, it was also looking at and relying on some of that support that I need to also start to feed my soul. I give a lot out. You got to receive as well. So that's me kind of getting in that and what am I receiving into my energy. So that's getting yourself some support and some coaching. And so that's what I did this week for that. I also work 4 days a week. So, and this is becoming more common as well. I know some of your roles may not allow you to do that, but it's something that is one of my, boundaries now. My 4 day, when I'm working for someone else, I need to work 4 days a week. I'm actually want to work less, but 4 days is great for now. And then I do my coaching, right? So I do my coaching and then my content and my mind body wellness on the top of that. So essentially, I do 5 days, but for what I'm giving to someone else or to a corporate role, that's 4 days a week, and that is a boundary. And a lot of places are a lot more on board with 4 days a week. I've always found, though, working 4 days a week, you still do get through 5 days worth of work. But that is just my personal view on that as well. All right, so that's work 4 days, is something I do. Have a look at how you work. A lot of organizations now do the compressed working week, flexible options, 9-day fortnights, all of that. I know for me it does impact salary, but some of you might be in places where you can get other ones as well. So have a look and see what you can do, but that is something that I do to give myself that more space and also time that I can invest in my own business as well as in myself. So use the commute, right? So I said that's 3 hours a day if I'm commuting into the office. So that's a lot. So what I've done this week is I use that time for just a bit of quiet meditation, and I am lucky I can sit on my public transport. I know a lot of you may not be able to sit, but I do get a seat so I can meditate. Otherwise you'll be doing a standing meditation, which is fine. I'm listening to nourishing podcasts. So when I'm on my commute, I'm trying to use that time for my own personal nourishment, right? And yes, there's times when I'll get my team's messages pop up, and there's times when I've got to check an email or do something, and that's okay. But I essentially want to use this time to listen to nourishing podcasts, have something feeding me. So whether it's feeding my mind and my soul, so podcasts, I've listened to so many podcasts this week. So Jay Shetty is one of my favorite podcasters. He's my favorite podcast. I think it's On Purpose is what it's called. It is amazing. It is great nourishment for you, all about wisdom, and it's great because I really do feel after every podcast and every episode I listen to that I am a little bit richer in wisdom when I listen to that. Another one that I've listened to and a newie that I am following is Sahara Rose. So she is amazing. She's an amazing story and she is fantastic. And again, fantastic at sharing wisdom. All these amazing people that are great at sharing their own journeys as well as what they've learned, and then starting to create a movement to really drive mind, body and wisdom. across the world, which is fantastic. So Jay Shetty's one, Sahara Rose, and then one of my other favorites, which I love listening to because it is just so calming and he's just so calm and balanced, and I just want to embody his energy, is Lee Harris. So he is an energy intuitive as well. So and he's a great one to listen to because I guess that I find it very grounding and very wise words and very connecting when I'm listening to these podcasts. So use it for your commute. Look how you use your commute. Can you be using it a little bit more effectively to focus on your well-being? So I'm also using that time as well for a bit of my creative time. So I love Canva. Absolutely a huge fan of it. I have it on my phone. It's not as easy to use on my phone, but you got to work with what you got. So I use that as a bit of creative time as well, and a little bit of try to do some meditation or some breathing as well. So use your commute. That's one way because then I'm like, well, that's a lot of time I'm actually able during the day to be focusing on my well-being, right? So, well-being isn't just about, it's not just exercise. It's not just what you eat. Sometimes it's not just, sleep, any of these things. There's lots of other different things you can do and draw into your life to really focus on your well-being and focus on recharging and nourishing you, because ultimately that is what's going to help you keep going and recharging your energy so that you can keep going. So there's some of the things I've done. What else have I done? So looking to start my day right. So especially when I leave early in the morning, it's chaos. I've got children. But starting the day, I'm doing a quick gratitude practice before I reach for my phone, because yes, I reach for my phone every morning. And so I try to do a gratitude practice, and I make myself do a gratitude practice before I'm allowed to reach for my phone. So that is my way I start my day. I also try to plan my day a little bit, and I just use my notes section on my phone, just so I know what are the big things. So it gives me a really clarity for what I want from the day. And I'm also setting an intention, for what I want during that day to be. So, today's going to be a fun day. Today's going to be a productive day. Today I'm going to get great feedback, or today I'm going to work on something exciting. I'm going to be inspired today. So set an intention and put some of that positivity, I find, at the start of the day, because that really does help fuel you as well. And then I also have a shower every morning, and I turn the shower to cold for about the last 30 seconds. So that is definitely something that I recommend you do. It's very invigorating. It's great. I know there's a huge movement around this. So try your cold shower. It is amazing. I have a nighttime ritual as well, and I think I'm going to have to do a whole separate video or podcast on my nighttime ritual and what I use from a product perspective. I use a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different, things like aromatherapy things and all that I use. But, after the kids go to bed, I pretty much start an unwind from then on, and, meditation and things like that I try to keep consistent every night. So, and that's how I kind of try to clear the cache from the day as well. So I do that. I have my green smoothies every day. I haven't mentioned my green smoothies yet. So I do have my green smoothies every day. And I just put them in bottles to take to work. So they still have it, and it's consistent that I have it every day. For me, it's something. And I also do have a couple of pre-made ones that I have in case of an emergency. But that's something that I do to ground me, and also know I'm getting some amazing nutrients into my body, as well as hydration in the mornings. So today it is Friday, so I'm hoping I am putting some yay back into your mind and body. So I'm actually having a body day to really help alleviate a lot of that mental load and mental fog. So I'm really getting into my body to balance this out. So I've done yoga today, and I've already done a meditation, dry brushing as well. I am very shortly about to go to an infrared sauna session, and rest. I think they're kind of some of the things that I'm looking at doing today in my body day. So I'm huge on infrared saunas. I've just started doing them. I find them amazing. You feel great afterwards. So I think there's different things out there that you can do that you might feel passionate about. It might, it might be dancing or, going to other different art classes, um, walking the dog, playing with your pet. There's all these different things that we can do. And I think if you're just really aware of what you need to be well, so focus on your wellness, not your illness. Really focus on your wellness so that you can really invest in your well-being. Like, this is your self-care, this is your body, this is your mind, should be your biggest investment. And everywhere we go, we're going to have so many people trying to take that energy from us, especially from a professional perspective. So that's a wrap for today. I just wanted to jump on and give you this almost diary kind of, of what I've been doing and how I've seen some of these impacts. And some of these are just normal impacts, but that just means we've got to manage it. Once you're aware, you can act. And I'm huge into action for your mind and body, because you will seriously see some of the benefits of it. So thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will chat to you later. Bye.